Okay, so I'm going to try to explain some of the subtleties of left versus right hand approximation and also whether it's a lower or an upper approximation. So the first thing I've done is drawn you a rectangle and shown you the left-hand side versus the right-hand side. So a little bit of this is visual, and once you see it, I think it was going to be kind of common sense. So if I take a function f of x, and I'm just saying the width of each one of these rectangles is change of x. We could get specific and say that change of x is equal to x4 over minus x of 0 over 4. And that's how we found the width every time. And then whether I am using the first x and not the last. So you can see that I'm using for the left hand here, I'm going this one. That's the left hand side of the second rectangle. That's the left hand side of the third rectangle. And that's the left hand side of the fourth rectangle. And each one of those f of values will give you the height of those rectangles. Then when I look at right hand, and again, it's the very same thing, x4 minus x0 over 4 is my delta x. But this time, and let me try to change a color here, get something that'll show up. We'll do something kind of crazy there. Okay. And so right hand, I'm going all the way over here using x1 for my f of x1 for my first height, f of x2 for my second, f of x3, and f of x4. So in this case, I use x1 and x4, but not x0. So that's just a simple left versus right. Upper versus lower can be a little bit different, and it all depends on whether your function is increasing or your function is decreasing. So here I just used 3 rectangles. Again, my change of x is just the width of each one of those rectangles. But whether I use x1 through x3 or x0 and x2 depends on, again, whether the function is increasing or decreasing. So here, if I have an increasing function, then the right hand f is always going to be higher than the left. So we're going to go here and here and here. So I'm using f of x1, 2, and 3 to produce the heights. If I have a decreasing function, then the right is always going to be lower than the left. And if I want this to be an upper approximation or upper or above rectangles, then I'm going to have to use, I'm going to have to use the left. So there we go, left. There's the second one, and there's the third one. So again, I've used x0, f of x1, and f of x2 to produce the heights. This works the same way on if I want lower. I'm going to change my colors out. Let's go back to green. There we go. Okay, so again, I have an increasing function. So if my function is increasing, any f of x to the left is going to be lower than an f of x to its right. So I'm using f of x0, f of x1, and f of x2 add up times my change of x, and lower if my function is decreasing. Well, if my function is decreasing, then the right f of x1 is going to be less than f of x0, and f of x2 is going to be lower than or less than f of x1. So here's my first height, my second, and my third. And hopefully this is going to clear that up a little bit when the questions ask for both or one versus the other.